team, and that is what they look like now. Listen, we can bang on Cam, and I will later, but they have no speed at tight end or wide receiver. They do not have an elite running back. Their best offensive lineman is a rookie. This is sort of the arrogance of, Belichick takes over the draft in January. I got it from here. They have not drafted an offensive all-pro since Gronk. It's over a decade ago. They are not very good offensively. They are, and they don't know offense very well. Mohamed Sanu, they gave up a second-round pick. It didn't work. N'Keal Harry, it appears to be a bust. So, listen, this was always more Brady than Belichick. We know Bill's good, but this is why I kept saying you can be the smartest coach in the world. You've got to have speed. You've got to have playmakers. You don't think Michael Thomas makes Sean Payton a better coach? You don't think Travis Kelce and Mahomes don't make Andy Reid a better coach? This is the slowest football team in the National Football League. The only team in the NFL that scored less is the Jets. That says it all.
Where Colin was wrong.
Andy Dalton's not almost as good as Dak if you give him the weapons. Listen, the offensive line's in shambles, and Andy can't move. In Cincinnati, when he had two good tackles, he was a pretty good quarterback. They are a mess, and Andy's been a disaster. His passer rating is 58. And Dak's, when we always knew Dak was better than Dalton, but Dak's ability to move the pocket and avoid pressure and take the hits especially, I like Dak, and it was undervalued. The gap between Dak and Dalton is substantial.
Where Colin was right?
Yes, Tom Brady can still play. What can't Tom Brady do? Lead? Is he still a good leader? Is he efficient? I don't get that his arm's dying. I think he makes all the throws. I never thought he was a great deep ball thrower. I never thought he was an athlete. This idea that Tom Brady can't play, it looks like Tom Brady to me. Now, I do think he was livelier. His arm was livelier first 10, 12 years of his career. And I do believe the last 5, 6 years that he gets tired in November and he loses something off his fastball. And there's certain throws he's not good at. But they're not asking him to make those throws. And if you give him great players, when I'm watching him play, he looks so much like Tom Brady 7 years ago to me. All the critics, I don't get it. He still does one thing brilliantly, lead. And for certain organizations, it's more than just throwing a football. Tampa's had talent for years. They didn't have this, the efficiency, the timeliness, the leadership, the accountability.
Where Colin was wrong.
I had the Steelers at 8-8. They're 6-0. They're not going into the tank. I will say this, top to bottom, it's probably the most well-constructed roster in the NFL. Even running back, where we look at him and think, I like James Conner. When James Conner's healthy, I like James Conner. They do everything well. Tight ends that can block, receivers can catch, a quarterback. In fact, if there's one thing that drives me nuts, it's Big Ben. That's my issue. Some of his throws drive me nuts. He threw up a jump ball yesterday late that was really a bad throw, but top to bottom, they're really good. Kevin Colbert's, nobody knows what he looks like outside of Pittsburgh. He's one of the best football personnel guys in the NFL. They've got two good receivers, two capable backs, an excellent offensive line. The Minka Fitzpatrick trade was money. Their linebackers are unbelievable. I don't know. I'm sure there's a hole somewhere. I swear to God, sometimes I think the hole is Ben.
Where Colin was right?
Baker Mayfield's going to beat Cincinnati, and everybody in Cleveland's going to go crazy. That's what I got this morning. Oh, my God, you're just a hater. Can we stop? Baker Mayfield owns the Bengals. Wait, the whole league does. Baker's growth is not about the Bengals. Baker's growth is, how does he look against the Steelers and Ravens? 2 games this year? Awful. Once again, people are no longer honest. It is classic. Every time he beats the Bengals, this has happened like 5 times on this show. Everybody rushes in and tells me how great he is, and I keep saying, do you have to get through the Bengals to get to the playoffs? You got to get through the Steelers and the Ravens to get to the playoffs, and Baker's been terrible. People just aren't honest on Baker. He's not good. I was right. Own it. Take the Bengals out. He's a below-average quarterback. That's just what he is.
Where Colin was wrong.
I was ready to hand Cam Newton a contract extension. I'm going to pull that away for the time being. Now, again, he's not working with much, but mechanics aren't great. Accuracy is terrible. He's acknowledging it. It's just not good. He's really struggling. If you take out the Seattle game, and after that game, I'm like, whoa, we got ourselves something here. Let's be honest. Seattle's defense it's the worst in the league. It's worse than Dallas. You take that game out, he's got 1 touchdown, 6 picks. Again, it's accuracy problems, some easy throws, 12 yards away, way behind wide receiver. He's off. This is why there was not much of a market. And I think this morning, I'm not sure there's going to be a market with all these great young quarterbacks coming out of the draft.
Where Colin was right.
I always said Kyler Murray, and this is not a huge, reach. Kyler Murray is Russell Wilson. He's the closest thing we have. Yesterday, their stats are identical. Russell Wilson went 33 of 50. Kyler went 34 of 48. Russell Wilson ran for 84 yards. Kyler ran for 70. Russell threw for 388. Kyler threw for 360. Russell threw 3 touchdowns. Kyler threw 3 touchdowns. And by the way, both teams are totally reliant on the quarterback to make great plays. That's why both quarterbacks occasionally have really bad interceptions. But I still contend that Kyler does not get picked, at least early, without Russell Wilson. They're just, how much fun are they to watch? And again, if you ask quarterbacks to throw for 400 yards, you're going to get bad throws. Kyler had a terrible pick. Russell had a terrible pick. That's life if you're asking a guy to throw 48 times.
Where Colin was wrong.
Yeah, I whiffed on Denver. It does not appear Drew Lock and Denver are going to be a challenger to anybody. They're not even interesting now. Listen, they've had injuries, but I don't want to hear about injuries. Everybody's losing players. We had no preseason. We've had more injuries than ever. They are affecting the betting lines. But, Patrick Mahomes barely sweat yesterday. Patrick Mahomes was 15 of 23, and they still scored 43 points. The defense isn't good. I understood the Vic Fangio hire. Everybody in the league was going one way. They went defense, and I think Fangio's a good defensive coach. Drew Lock has struggled. He was 21 of 40 with a couple of picks. Been a little banged up, but they've got talent, but they don't have the right juice leading it.
Where Colin was right.
Everybody wants 8 teams, 16 teams in a college football playoff. Did you watch Alabama this weekend? Did you watch Ohio State? Did you watch Clemson? Ohio State dropped 52 on Nebraska and didn't even play well in the first half. We don't need 8 teams in a college football playoff. I'm not sure we need 4. I think we need 3. One of them gets a bye. Ohio State, Clemson, and Alabama are so much better than everybody else. There isn't a 4th best program. Georgia's good but never wins the big game. Auburn's talented but inconsistent. LSU now is no good. Michigan, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, eye roll. Everybody wants to add to the playoff system. And my takeaway is, you're watching these games. There's 3 college programs that don't even look like anybody else. The players don't even look the same. They're just NFL factories. Ohio State played poorly for the first half and won 52-17. For the record, Justin Fields. Oh, man.